Hey everyone, Cahlen here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I make a meal off of just what I'm carrying on my belt, basically. So there's a little more to it than a belt, and it's certainly not a normal belt. It has some drop leg bags, so some big bags on either side which are carrying a bunch of the food, and MOLLE attachments on the belt itself where I'm actually carrying a water bottle and some other things. So we'll look at that, but basically I'm going to make a meal that I can live off of for probably 2 weeks, just of what I'm carrying on my belt, but basically just by adding water. Okay, you can see it's all black. It kind of blends in. It's a little bit hard to actually make out what is going on here. But what we have is we have this belt here, which has all kinds of tools, like my fire lighting tools, my multi-tool, a large knife, my penny whistle, and a bottle of avocado oil, MCT oil, and flax oil mixed together. A big bottle, right? Over here I have my chlorine dioxide for cleaning water. I have a self-defense tool, and I have a titanium water bottle. Okay, so then I'll take this off. And also, by the way, when I'm really traveling, I have my whole house and summer sleeping bag and sleeping pad rolled up right here, and then I have my backpack carrying all my kind of colder weather sleeping and clothes, right? And that's usually actually pretty light. So anyways, I take this belt off like this. Everything holds together. Nice thing about MOLLE, can customize and it's still stable. And then I have these two drop leg bags which have belts that go kind of across and are padded and sit on either hip, right? So this bag is resting on this hip and vice versa, okay? So I'm going to set these down on the ground and we're going to look at what I'm actually keeping in these things. Okay, so here's the belt again, and here's one of the bags in the other one, okay? So these have lots of different compartments on it. Like over here I have my ham radio, so I can get the weather and also communicate with people and listen on to what might be going on in my area. That might be important. So there's another compartment up here, you know, where I'm keeping my adaptogenic herb mix and also my salt mix, different potassium, magnesium, that type of stuff. And I add that to various things depending on what I feel like I need. And there's other compartments which I'm not even using, but so the main compartment is here. It's got a little drawstring that you open up. And then this is not waterproof, okay? So inside I have some dry bags for backpacking, which I've made videos on before, where I keep grains and various foods and stuff like that. So if I open this up, inside is basically my chocolate powder, okay, which is a mix of a lot of different stuff, super healthy. You could live on just this by itself, okay? And so in the other bag, for example, on this side, instead of the radio, I have monocular. Okay, so this is a monocular, so kind of like binoculars except with one. So just one lens. Up here, what's in here? This is my glass case up here in this thing. And then in here, I keep something, I keep basically instant oats. Okay, so oats come in different forms. Even rolled oats aren't ideal for this. You basically do need it to be instant oats because instant oats has already been cooked and basically they are ready to eat within about 1 minute of putting hot water on them. But you can also use cold water, so it just takes a little bit longer, so maybe 5 to 10 times as long. So if it's cold water, then maybe wait 10 minutes instead of 1 minute and it's probably going to be ready, okay? So this is nice. It's not necessary, but it adds bulk. And also you can mix it with other things. If you're tired of the sweet chocolate flavor, you can mix it with other types of spices, which is something that I want to be trying. Okay, so I've got my water bottle here. It's a little bit warm because it's been sitting out in the sun, but it's probably about that full, you know, a little over half full. And this is the first time I'm actually going to be doing this, even for myself, in this bottle with the oats. So this is partially an experiment, but I'm going to start with 3 scoops of the chocolate mix, which has basically, it's mostly coconut flour, a little bit of cocoa powder, and a bunch of other, like small amounts of other good things, okay, including a little bit of stevia to give it some sweetness. Okay, now I'm going to put 3 of the oats And these are organic, and I would say make sure it has to be organic. Oats are some of the worst glyphosated grains out there. So if it's gotta be organic, you know. So I wouldn't, like, if I eat non-organic, I will get depressed, right? It will have a strong effect on me, noticeable after I eat it. Okay, but that doesn't happen with organic. So anyways, oh yeah, I'm gonna add basically some of that oil that I told you about. These are all really healthy oils for various reasons. Just a little bit. And then sometimes I'll also add some of that salt mix that I showed you, or that adaptogenic herb mix, but right now I'm not going to do that. I'm just gonna keep this experiment simple. There's a little titanium whisk that I wound up and put down in here, which is just big enough so that it won't fall out. And so basically that helped me to shake things up. So I'm just gonna shake this up for a little bit, and then I'm gonna just let it sit for maybe 5 minutes because it's kind of warm, so maybe 5-10 minutes. Okay, it's probably been 7 or 8 minutes, and I haven't been shaking it the whole time, just so you know. So I'm gonna open it here. It's probably gonna splash. Not too bad. Sometimes, especially if it's really warm, it'll kind of explode out, so you kind of be like, make sure you're blocking your clothes and yourself from that explosion. Okay. So it's really good. I think that next time I will probably double the amount. So I'll probably do 6 and 6 of scoops of each of the things, so the chocolate and the oatmeal. So, but this feels like it would basically be a light meal at basically the amounts that I put in here. This would probably keep me full. If I was someone, I'm just imagining I'm someone who, you know, has 3 meals a day, normally eats all day long like most people, that this would probably keep me going for this whole thing by itself, probably about 2 hours, I would guess. Okay, so double that to get probably to a point where you would consider it one of your main meals, is what I'm imagining. But anyways, I'll find out next time I try it. So anyways, so this is pretty cool. In backpacking, there's all, like, people who, especially who do really long hikes, like through multiple states in the United States, like the Pacific Crest Trail, they want to reduce how much they're carrying, and they also want to make it as easy as possible for themselves to prepare their meals without having to, after a long day of walking and being tired and having to set up your camp, also then have to cook a meal, right? So basically people have tried to think of ways to make things lightweight and as easy as possible. And something, kind of a phenomenon in the backpacking world arose, you know, probably a couple decades ago at this point, but basically called cold soaking, which is you just prepare meals and all you have to do is add water and let it sit there for a while, okay? And usually not very long. You know, some things, there's like overnight oats and stuff like that, generally need them to be soaked overnight. That's if you're using normal rolled oats. You don't have to do that with Instant Oats. So anyways, it's a really nice thing because all you have to do is find water. You don't even have to be carrying that water. If you are in a place that has water, you know, you can just find it, find a little stream, scoop up some water and add whatever you want to it and let it soak for a bit, and then you can consume it. And that's basically all that you really need to eat, okay? So for a little bit of variety, you would probably want to add some other things. Like if I wanted variety, I'd probably add, ideally, macadamia nuts, but kind of expensive, not exactly something that's probably the best idea for a long term, just for the expense, really. Although they are really healthy, okay, so if you can afford that, I'd totally go for it. So anyways, out of the kind of things that you can cold soak, it's generally the ingredients are not very good for you. You know, it's like ramen noodles and instant rice and couscous, which is wheat, which is not usually organic and is prepared, right? So these things are generally, because of the fact they have to be cooked by itself, kind of reduces it. But really the biggest problem is the fact that these things are generally not organic and are, like couscous, for example, has the downside of having gluten and lots of glyphosate in it, okay? And that's a really common one that the cold soaking community uses, okay? So basically, I think Instant Oats is probably the best option available to you because you can get it organic, and also because oats are pretty healthy. Grains in general are not optimal for human thriving. And basically grains are for your livestock and your slaves, which are your livestock. Okay, so humans in the old days, the people who got the food, you know, that we think of as really nice, were not most people, right? The grains, including oats, were kind of more for the little people, okay? So, but anyways, despite that being true, and it not even being totally optimal for your health to be eating oats, even oats in the best condition, organic and all that type of stuff, it is still something that will keep you going for a long time, give you a lot of energy, and be generally healthier than almost everyone else is eating, okay? So I'm talking about if you're trying to really get really far, really maximize your well-being, then oats is probably not the best thing. I add the extra element to my life of trying to perfect a survival, extremely low budget, and simplistic situation, and so I allow myself to not get optimal health because I'm already pretty healthy, and this benefits my life in a lot of other ways by simplifying it and making it less expensive and all that type of stuff. Okay, so so basically that's the cold soak situation. I think instant oats is the way to go if that's what you're going to do, and I think it's pretty cool that I can carry basically a perfectly healthy meal that has pretty much everything that I would need, especially if I add those other two things, which I did not add. Which I can, probably enough that I could carry it for 2 weeks, doing some pretty strenuous walking. I bet you that could keep me going. Maybe I'll get the chance to test that. That might be stretching. If you're walking 10 miles a day, 2 weeks might be stretching it. But if you're just sitting around, I think 2 weeks is going to be totally doable with what I'm carrying in those bags there. So anyways, just thought something that I think is cool, that I'm enjoying, and I thought I'd share with you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. By the way, if you want to help me get some macadamia nuts, you can go to cahlen.org/gift.